Hello, 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 and welcome to the Women's Fitness and Health Revolution podcast. We're talking today about how to get your family involved with all things health, fitness, just everything that makes your body happy and how to get them on board. And this is recording part 2 because I'm pretty sure the first one that I recorded did not make it out into the world. I tried to just check it on my own and it didn't play. So if you were trying to get it to download, I apologize for the delay. We get to do this all over again, baby. And big shout out to Margarita Definition, Make the Boys Go Loco. I lift things for a living and he helps me with things that go beep boop. So yay for that today's topic, right? Family helping family. So Kinsey here. Certified personal trainer, menopause coaching specialist with over a decade of hands-on experience with women from every walk of life and every stage of life. Still no intro yet, but September still has time. So stay tuned. The goal is new intro. By the end of the month, we've got, what is this now? It's the 26th, of the re-recording. So a couple more days. Like I said, today's episode, all about getting family on board, is inspired by a question that I've received a lot in the past. And oftentimes, it's something that can feel like an overwhelming hurdle for getting started with a new fitness or healthy lifestyle dial mover. And oftentimes, it feels like a hurdle when it comes to sticking with that goal. That question: how do I get my family on board with my healthy habit changes? This could be working out, it could be food, choosing movement over stationary activities together. These can all feel incredibly overwhelming from the start on their own, but the hoop to jump through starts to get smaller and smaller, or at least it feels like it does, when we feel like we have to do it on our own, especially if those people that surround us most of the time are still partaking in old habits that we're trying to rewrite. Before we jump into today's topic, I do want to touch on a quick life update because I officially ran my first menopause and muscle workshop and it was amazing. Even at the time of this re-record, I'm still buzzing. So first of all, again, another big shout out to my friend and previous client who has now turned my workout buddy, Carly, for not only hosting, but for being such an incredible human that she literally has like a Rolodex of humans to invite. We still use Rolodexes, right? We're cool? Great. Okay. Love that. Moving on. Point is, it was a success. 10 amazing women all on a Sunday morning coming together to learn about their incredible machines and how to take care of themselves through lifestyle and building muscle. We deep dove into what happens during our menstrual cycle, how the roles of those same hormones shift and evolve as we head through perimenopause, what losing estradiol can mean for our health decline as we age. And by as we age, I'm talking like 30s and beyond, and how muscle can actually help mitigate a lot of the health risks associated with losing estradiol across the board. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a Fit After 40 talk if we didn't chat about how to build muscle correctly from the foundation up. AKA, it was literally all of my favorite things with brand new friends. So yay! If you can't tell from this podcast, I am deeply passionate not only about teaching women how to move their bodies correctly and effectively, but also educating them as it pertains to getting muscle on our frames and how to prevent age-related health declines from anything from osteoporosis to type 2 diabetes to heart disease to Alzheimer's, which, by the way, I was just listening to a fascinating podcast on where they were sharing studies that show 40 to 45% of dementia cases can be preventable from lifestyle choices starting as early as 20 years leading up. So this is massively important information that we get out in the world. So yeah, I'm pretty obsessed and I cannot wait to deep dive into more. I already have 2 more on the books before we jump out of town for our wedding, which is now weeks away somehow. So cross your fingers, it's all coming together. If this workshop, the menopause and muscle, everything we talked about sounds something that you are interested in experiencing, definitely check out the show notes so that you can get your name on the Fit After 40 newsletter to learn about upcoming workshops that I'm going to start running online, or if you're in the Twin Cities area, so that you know when they're happening in your area. And if you feel like you have a group of women who could really benefit from this kind of information, reach out to me, Kinsey at fitafter40.info, and we can look into setting up a private workshop together. It would be such a blast. I would love to chat. Because like I said early on, after all, that is what today's topic really boils down to. It's the importance of surrounding yourself with people who are pulling those big dial movers to make what may sometimes seem minor life changes that end up leading to major health improvements down the line. So how do we get our friends, our families, our loved ones interested in working out with us, in eating, quote unquote, clean with us, in choosing activities where we're moving our bodies versus TV binges, which, to be fair, right? Like, I'm all about that 80-20 life. You know, I'm all about a Netflix marathon once in a while. But the point is, how do we get them on board? And the simple answer, we're probably not going to love it, is that we probably can't. And this is not as doom and gloom as it sounds. I promise. Hang tight. For 75% of us, it's just probably the facts. They probably aren't interested. They're probably not going to budge. For the other 25% of us, I'll be offering some ways to try to get your family on board. And if they're in, they're in. Huzzah. If, like me for many years, you're in that first 75%, I'm going to be offering you a strong alternative so you stop wasting your time and energy trying to convince other people to make changes and instead use all that saved energy into channeling it into supporting your own growth. So I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to leave you with some options, but just so we get that out of the way at the top. I have talked about it once or twice on this pod, but I personally didn't shoot out of the womb just like busting out back squats. No. In fact, it was a bit of a shock and a joke to my extended family that I ended up in fitness at all. If I was working out early on, which was rarely, it was in an effort to burn as many calories as humanly possible on the treadmill and then immediately swinging by 7-Eleven for snacks and a big gulp. So it took me years to lift weights, and I didn't even start with like the best intentions in mind. I did it personally, the weightlifting, because I loved the community of group fitness. The nutrition piece didn't even slot in for over a decade. So that's why I'm so passionate about small group personal training, right? It keeps that community, which for me was the thing that really got me started in the first place. But why then, as someone now who loves all of this so passionately, why did it take me so long to get there? And I think it's a combination of things. One, it feels so hard, or it can when we're getting started. It can feel like there's just so much to do that it's almost impossible. It can feel too expensive getting started. I hear that all the time. It's not as enjoyable as driving through a Taco Bell drive-thru and eating a chalupa in my car. You know, there's just so many reasons not to get started. And the other side of things, good things simply take time. Nothing amazing happens overnight. We know from previous podcasts that it would be impossible to change sustainably all at once anyway. For me, I had to finally be ready to accept that I could feel even better, that I could live even better, and that I could see better results. I was uncomfortable enough with where I was and how I felt that it was worth the discomfort of changing. And in this case, adding a nutrition piece. Not to mention, when my nutrition really did start to slot into where it is today, my relationship to why I moved my body and why I fed my body underwent a really major evolution. I've talked about that story before, but I went from shrinking my body to trying to support and care for my body. And once I started to feel the benefits of both moving and truly supporting my body, after a year or so of sort of stop-start experiments with fad diets, one day we'll talk about what keto was like for me, and it was not cute. She was hangry all the time and real gassy. It was not my cuppa. But the point is, eventually that all got me to eating where I am now, which is 80-20 roughly with real foods, emphasizing that high protein and looking for lots of different colors of fruits and veggies. But it felt so good once I hit that sweet spot and once I stopped having to think about it because I was just doing it without thinking, that I didn't want to go back. I felt good. I feel good. And when I do go out for the occasional fast food, I don't feel great after. That's one thing that I hear a lot. People are like, I'm worried that if I eat X, Y, and Z, then I won't be able to stop. And I think maybe early on, there's something to be said for that before we sort of retrain those dopamine sensors. But now, like, my body literally revolts around that. I feel really like sweaty. I feel bloated. I feel really like my gut just isn't happy. I feel lethargic. You can feel the changes. Once you give your car high quality gasoline, it doesn't run great when you start pumping it with water or Diet Pepsi. So the point is here that it took time, and it was on my timeline. It wasn't on someone else's. Nobody could have gotten me started any earlier. And this is how it's going to go for most of our friends and our family members too. Before I was in fitness, I was in the wonderful world of comedy. I know, it's shocking. But needless to say, when I did catch the health bug and I was screaming it from the top of the roof that everybody needed to join me up here, kind of crickets, right? I was pretty on my own in this transition. I'd look at the way my friends were living their day to day, and I'd hear about the health issues they were going through and the struggles they were coming up against. And I would, in my mind, be like, oh my God, if you just started moving more, if you just started like switching out like more protein and veggies, all my mind just started buzzing. So I'd offer them free gym memberships. I'd send them podcasts that were starting to change my life. I'd just give them all of these resources and tell them what they should do. And you know what happened? You know who joined me up on that rooftop? Nobody took me up on it. One friend, I should say, did come in once in a while to my gym to work out. But even to this day, nobody really that I'm still in contact from the past was convinced enough from those rooftop cries to take action in their health. And it really breaks my heart, because now we're here in our late 30s and our 40s, and a lot of folks I used to know or perform with are struggling with a variety of different health issues that could have been prevented had exercise and nutrition levers been pulled. And this is no shade. If anything, this actually gives me an incredible perspective into how grateful I am that my path led me to this point of life. And it makes me never take for granted a person choosing bravely to get uncomfortable enough to start their own health journey, especially the further into the walk of life they get. And you better believe, if any one of those amazing humans came to me today and wanted to learn how to move their body, how to build muscle, how to eat to support their beautiful machines, I would help in a heartbeat. And the real miracle about that is, I've said it over and over, and it's true right now, it is never too late to see our health turn a corner. The point here isn't to say, yay, Kinsey, you did it, and too bad for them. It's to say this, as a perspective shift for you thinking of people in your lives. Even when I offered people a free gym membership, all they had to do was come in for free to a workout that was already written. They just had to show up. I couldn't convince my loved ones to work out. Health in any capacity is an inside job, and we can be the most supportive spouse, partner, parent, friend, but if that person isn't willing to slide into the driver's seat and take the wheel of their own car, there's not going to be anyone driving it. But there is hope. And here's something that you can do. Every day when you get out of bed, you get to lead by example. And you get to trust and learn to trust that they're on their own journey independent of you, and that is how it's supposed to be. And if they do happen to get the itch to try something or find something that excites them, do your best not to tell them what to do unless they ask. Like I said, I have done this too many times, and the result is that they get annoyed, they feel embarrassed talking to you, they feel like what they're doing isn't working, so why even bother? Wait for them to ask questions, because they probably will, and then don't judge what they're doing or tell them what to change. Talk about what's working for you. So always take the opportunity to turn it back to what you're doing for yourself and not make it a prescription towards them. Just share what's working for you. If you have things that you want to share with them, ask permission before you do. Ask if they'd be interested if you share some resources. Maybe this podcast. Share resources that have helped you, though. And if they're insistent that they can do it on their own, don't take it personally. That's a big one. Just let them do it. Just let them do it. My friend and I have been talking about this a lot, about how we can have people, the closest people in our lives. We're traveling down the road of life together, but we're on separate paths, right? So for a lot of our life, we're going to be walking side by side, but every once in a while, their path is going to veer right, my path is going to veer left, and we can still be side by side. We're just a little bit further apart on our own path, and then we'll come back to the middle. Everyone's on their own path here. I like to always turn this back when I feel frustrated, especially when I'm like, oh my gosh, I know what could help you right now. Like if you literally just made one change, you would see such a difference. I like to turn it back again to my own story, my own journey, because I remember what it took for me to get there. And maybe you were someone who got it on the first try, and that's amazing, but I sure as heck wasn't. I am happy to report, however, that after 12-ish years of working out consistently and 7-ish years of pretty consistent nutritional support, that everyone in my immediate family is now at least starting to ask me questions about lifting weights and about protein. And a couple of them have even started working out with me. If you follow my podcast, or not podcast, that's what this is, silly. If you follow my Instagram at kinsey.does.the.fitness, you'll see at least twice a week, my mom and I do weight training together, and it is a highlight of my week. I think I've said this before, but she's like the perfect client. You're like, do this. And she's like, thank you. And you're like, do that. And she's like, I can't wait. It's awesome. Point is, she's doing it now, right? And maybe things didn't happen on the timeline I would have loved, but you know what? It's happening now. And now is way, way better than never. And we're having a great time. But Kinsey, I have to cook meals for my family, and they don't like healthy food. Girl, heard. There may be a period of time where you are preparing meals for yourself. And I know it sucks, but listen up. I got you. I love the idea of batch cooking for a moment like this. That way you can incorporate things with your family meals. This could be as minimal. I'm not talking like full meals. If you've got the time and the capacity, do your thing. But it could be as minimal as just focusing on protein at first. So always make sure that you have batch cooked ground meat prepped so that when you're plating your family's meals, you can throw some protein on it. So even if nobody else wants to eat it, you've got it there for you, right? So ground turkey, ground beef, all that good stuff, cooked in the fridge, ready for you to put on your plate. If it doesn't feel like too much of an overwhelm, start having fun exploring recipes. We'll talk about it more in a second, but we're in an era where people are starting to care more about, they're starting to learn more and more about food as medicine. And there are a lot of really good recipe blogs out there on the interweb. Literally think of anything to type and you'll find it. So maybe you're looking up recipe family or healthy family recipes my kids will like, or how can I trick my kids into eating healthy? Literally have fun searching and you'll find all sorts of resources out there. I personally, as you know, I'm a big fan of crock pots. I talk about them all the time, but you can get a crap ton of protein in those puppies and veggies, and you can flavor it in 1.5 million different ways. Like last year I found a pizza flavored crock pot recipe that had cooked down veggies and a ton of protein, and it was bomb.com. Smoothies in the morning are a great way to make sure that you're getting in lots of fiber and protein. Cracking eggs into the oatmeal and whipping them up while it cooks so you can't even tell they're in there. Erin Holt gave me that one. She did it when she was cooking for her 6-year-old. She's got a lot of those sneaky healthy recipes. I don't know if they're still on her Instagram, but if you look up Erin Holt, hi Erin, Erin Holt family recipes, she had a lot of really good ones for cooking for kiddos where everyone was pleased, and you were getting a very nutritionally dense diet. Sean Stevens of the Model Health podcast, I adore him. He has a new recipe book as well that's called Eat Smart. It is designed to be family friendly and can take spins on, and it takes spins on kid friendly food that delivers a nice nutritional punch. So I got that for me because I like fun food, and it is a blast. It's a really easy to do cookbook too, not a ton of ingredients. The cool thing, like I said, just so many resources out there. All you need to do is find 2 or 4 recipes that your family likes and just keep them on rotation. Another way that has worked for clients in the past to get their kids involved, a little bit messier, but can be worth it, is to get your kiddos involved in cooking. So make it a family event. Like I said, have had clients have had work that has worked in the past. If you don't have kids or want a bonding moment for you and your boo, Margaret and I used to have date nights early on where we would cook together, and it was real sweet and real fun, and the food we made was delicious. It's still an activity that I really love to do with him. Now we've kind of fallen into a routine of one of us cooks, hopefully the other one cleans, and we help each other out so that the other one can do whatever they need to do in the day. But when we do have those days where we can cook together, it's special. It's a great way to spend time. You talk, you have music. It's just a nice time to be together. There's no screen on. You're just catching up on what's going on. Like I said, when it happens, it still is one of my favorite ways to spend time. And I don't love to cook all the time. When I have downtime, it's a fun thing, but like I don't get to the end of the day and I'm like, oh man, I've been waiting for this moment where dinner gets to be prepared. So finding ways to make it more fun and bonding is a great way. Again, with any of these ideas that I'm sending your way, enter into them free of the expectation that they're going to work, right? Don't set yourself up to be disappointed, because the hard truth is that sometimes, and oftentimes a lot in the beginning or down the road when people get bored, you just have to be a lone wolf. Just like they have to choose to drive their car, you got to choose to drive yours. And sometimes driving our car means looking like cooking for ourselves. I once had a client whose husband refused to eat anything but chicken wings and potato chips, which like fair because they are delicious food. But she started to really struggle with her health and was bound and determined to try pulling lifestyle levers before turning to medication like her doctor was suggesting. She has now for several years been consistently eating more protein and more high fiber, colorful veggies at every meal. And to be honest, this was not like an overnight transition, right? Started really small, just focusing on protein, focusing on getting more veggies. Now, after the years, like we always talk about, it becomes more and more of a no-brainer. But she found recipes early on that she enjoyed, that were easy to make, and that she could have leftovers with. She also made sure that she had snacks in her house that were more protein rich, and she took those potato chips and she moved them to a shelf above the stove where you'd have to like go out of your way to find them. Because I love potato chips, right? I name my dog Potato Chip, but once I get started on a bag, I generally don't stop until the bag's over. That's just how they're designed. So if you know there's something that like just triggers it once it hits the tongue, one really nice, easy way to not totally be like, I can't have this in the house, is just play around with where you have it. If it's the first thing you see when you're hungry and you open the cupboard, of course it's going to be the first thing we grab for. So just even something as mindful of like putting nuts where you can see them, putting fruit, etc. You can play around with seeing if that's something that works in your life. Back to her. Since then, over the last couple of years, I think it's like 3 or 4, her husband has been diagnosed with prediabetes. And the most beautiful conclusion to this story is he already had a partner who was eating supportively as that no-brainer. And finally, he was not just willing to ask for advice, but today they eat a majority of their meals together, and they're delicious meals. It wasn't even like having to sacrifice anything. Healthy eating can be incredibly delicious. Does it always plan out this way? No. But the point is, she didn't waste her energy trying to change what he was doing early on. She spent her energy taking responsibility for herself, trying to find things that worked for her, and didn't throw in the towel because of someone else's habits. And when finally he said enough is enough, she was the person he got to turn to. So pretty cool stuff. Do you, and who knows who you're going to affect. So what are some of the things we can try for working out before we let it go if people don't want to work out with us? If we have kids, one of the best things we can try to do is include them. They love you. They want to spend time with you. I have an amazing client who does 2 really lovely things to get her family on board for workouts. Once a week, she and her whole family, so her husband and her kiddo, will go to a track nearby their house, and they'll do little body weight workouts as a family. So they'll like run the track, and then they'll do squats, and they'll do push-ups and all these fun things together. And they're outside, so bonus. The other thing that she does when she stays at home with her kiddo is that she's cut swim noodles into 2 little weights so that her toddler can work out along with her while she uses her 50-pound mama weights for her front rack squats. She told me the other day that now he's asking for real weights, and I'm like, rock on, kid. He's 2.5. So get creative, right? Another fun way is to find ways to gamify fitness. You know your family, so you'll know what sort of like rewards will inspire them. But it could be to create a family challenge. You could make silly bets, like the last one, or the one person who doesn't do their 3 workouts this week is the one who has to do dishes all next week. Whatever. Like I said, you know your family. Just make it goofy, make it fun. Find things that are fun for everyone. And maybe get it a little competitive. That can create a little bit of heat, but like fun competitive, right? We don't want to make trouble for ourselves here. Not speaking from experience at all. One of the best things we can do for kids across the board is to, again, live by example. When a kiddo sees their mama prioritizing themselves and their health through movement, through nutritional eating, without making things about fixing our body and just prioritizing the importance of filling our own cup, it's a pretty beautiful gift for them to learn early on that it's worth getting into the driver's seat of their own car. And again, the number one takeaway, besides not trying to change other people, is not letting our family not getting into what we're doing bog us down and give us an excuse not to show up for ourselves. Okay, so those were some things to try. Now let's assume we tried it all, we did the most, and they are 100% nah. I feel that. It's time for you, my friend, to find other people who are working on the same thing as you. Ahem. Small group personal training, anyone? That is the whole reason that I, after a couple years of really contemplating what I wanted my next phase of fitness outreach to be, landed on small group personal training for Fit After 40. It's important, I would say essential, to work with a coach, and it's an incredible thing. It's another thing to work with a coach to get all of your form correct and make sure you're moving correctly, but then also be surrounded with the energy of like-minded people who are where you are at and are making the same uncomfortable decisions right now to show up for their health, and most likely are in a similar situation at home where they're trying to do this thing alone. You two are no longer alone now, right? You have 5 other women in that group who are all making these hard choices, and you get to do it together. Surround yourself with people who prioritize what is important to you so that you can, again, and I cannot say this enough, so I'm just going to keep saying it, you stop wasting energy on trying to change people who are not ready, and you feel yourself get lifted up by folks who are already making choices that you're looking to make. There is a quote that I think is just, it's attributed to Jim Rohn. I don't know if he was the first person to say it, but it's who always pops up when I try to remember who said it, that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. I learned this in a business capacity. It applies to everything, and it certainly applies to health and fitness. Who we surround ourselves with really dictate how we're going to motivate ourselves, right? So if we're around people who kind of are sedentary all day, again, no shame, maybe you just snack all day long. It's really hard to be the person who's constantly going against the grain, getting uncomfortable on our own, because I love to sit on the couch. I love to snack. But when you have a friend, a partner, a small group personal training crew who is waking up at 6:30 a.m. to get to a 7:30 a.m. workout, who is cooking on Sundays ground meat so that they have that protein to add to their meals, when you are seeing other people do it, when you can have those conversations and sort of talk through and troubleshoot, not only do you have someone to work alongside of, but you have people who are ahead of you and are showing you where you can go. That is motivation at its finest. When we see people who look like us, have lives like us, and who are doing things that we want to be doing, that's pretty exceptional. And maybe we can't spend all our time with our gym crew because we love our family. We chose our family. We want to spend lots of time with our family. But if we can keep that gym crew, our workout buddies, near the top of that list, and the more we get towards the top of the list, the more people that we surround ourselves with, the better off we'll be. So Here are a couple other great resources with connecting with like-minded people. There are just tons of healthy Facebook groups out there. So one way that you could jump into this is looking for healthy Facebook groups. Maybe prioritize finding ones that are all about like moms with young kids who work out, or recipes for moms with young kids, or fit families. Just finding ways that can sort of hop in fit after 40. Hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So that you're surrounded again by a community of people who are going through things just like you and might have tips and tricks that I don't know that they've known and have worked for their family. One thing that I'll say, as always, when you're using the interweb, especially more in sort of the anecdotal capacity, is to always take things with a grain of salt, right? Sometimes they can be a little toxic. Sometimes they can be wrong. So put on that thinking cap. If something feels too good to be true, it probably is. If something feels kind of off, you don't have to do it. If something feels sort of sus, but you're interested in it, shoot it my way. Email me, kinsey@fitafter40.info, or find me on Instagram, kinsey.does.the.fitness. I'd be more than happy to look it over for you, give you some advice, my 10 cents. And who knows, I'll maybe even do a podcast episode, because you're probably not the only person. That's one of the reasons that I did the whole podcast episode on weighted vests, because people were like, should I spend this money? And I was like, listen to the podcast. Spoiler, you sure don't have to. But they can be a great place to start, and you sure can surround yourself with people. Facebook groups are nice too, because you can bring them with you anywhere. Okay, other ways. Finding a workout buddy, or you could, finding a workout buddy, just kidding. Finding a workout buddy could be anyone, like a friend, maybe. It could be a coworker. It could be a friend of a friend you heard working on a goal. It could be someone you meet at a gym. Setting meal prep hangouts. My friend from another studio used to do meal prep Sundays, where they would get together and remember Game of Thrones? RIP. Back when it was like good, not like the last 2 seasons. Anyway, they would do Sundays where they would watch the new Game of Thrones episode and they would meal prep together. So it was like a hangout and a healthy hangout. I love that. Find walking buddies. Mall walkers, they got it figured out, my friends, especially in Minnesota when it gets real cold and icy. Go to the Mall of America and just spin a couple laps with your buddies. You get lots of steps in. Maybe find fellow neighborhood dog walkers. One of our neighbors has a yellow lab, and we will go walking with her sometimes. It's a great way to get your body moving, to take care of your pup, to have a little bit of community. Create a group of people who do weekly dinners where you shift around each week who's hosting, and always focus on a delicious, healthy meal. I actually stole this one from Stanley Tucci's show about where he goes around Italy trying different food. That's a real fun show. But they did like one episode. There was a group of friends who would host international recipes each week. Do the same thing, but with healthy recipes. That way, you're not always cooking and cleaning. You have new recipes coming in. You get activity with each other. It just sounds like a blast. I might actually make us start doing that. Invite coworkers to go on walks or do stretches before or after meetings. Maybe just make it part of your work culture. Because again, one of the places that we're sitting the most is going to be at work. So how can we start interrupting sedentary behavior in an office setting? Create a healthy book club that mixes social connection and learning. And if you need book recommendations, boy, howdy, do I got you. Just reach out. Join an outdoor adventure club. I have not done this, but I will at some point in my life do this. So if you are in the Twin Cities and you have an outdoor adventure club, hit me up because I want to hear about it. That sounds so much fun. So much fun. Look for people on meetup.com or other groups like that who are into health and fitness. Try volunteering at races or health events where you meet people who are into things like you. Become a part of a local co-op and partake in community events. Attend or host nutrition or workout seminars and workshops. Cough, cough, Fit After 40, Menopause and Muscle. Start or join a healthy recipe swap group. That could be via email, WhatsApp, Facebook group, whatever. Look for a healthy cooking class. There's just so many options. All you need to do to start finding community of people who are already doing these things is start to think outside the box. Get a little creative. Again, that's some of that energy that when we stop trying to make our family do what we want them to do, we have this energy to look for these people who are already doing it. Even if these accountability buddies are are only meeting once or twice a week, good news. All you need to start the ball rolling with strength training and to keep the engine going with behavior changes is 2 times a week. So that's pretty stinking awesome because you and your body are so worth it. And who knows, again, when people start to see your energy, your body, your mindset transform, you never know who you're going to touch, who you're going to inspire, and who's going to need your advice later on when they are ready. Okay, team. So that was our how to get our family involved. Spoiler, we probably can't, but here are some ways to try, and then here are some things to do if it doesn't work. Again, this is a re-record. If you were able to listen to the original one, just shout out and let me know. This is the first time I ever had any issues, so we're just flying by the seat of our pants over here, and we're living it. And on that note, one woman operation, I'm coming at you from my dining room table today. So it takes energy to put this baby out in the world, and I love to do it. So it would mean the world to me if you got something out of this episode to share with a friend who might get something out themselves, to like, 5-star review. If you want less than 5 stars, hit me up and I'll give you other podcasts to listen to. Leave a review, all the things. That's how this podcast and all the energy I put into it gets out into the world so we can continue to revolutionize the way women are thinking about their bodies and their health. All right, team, what a delight to jump on the pod twice this week. Hopefully this one takes. And in the meantime, so much love to you. As always, be gentle with yourself. You're so stinking worth it. Until next time, Aru.